are
Hello,
live.
everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Footy Fan Zone. This is a fantastic project that we are starting over here on YouTube. Welcome all to the channel. I hope you enjoyed this first live stream. Joining me today are my two esteemed co-hosts and co-creators of the channel. First off, started off with West Ham fan Gary Best. Gary, how are we?
I'm very good. How about yourself?
Yeah, very well. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you for joining. And also, we've got a Arsenal and Ipswich exclusively in that order. Fan Elliot Davis Trundle. Elliot, how are we, mate?
All good, mate. Excited to get going.
Absolutely, mate. This is going to be great. So obviously, we've got a bunch of content to talk about in the world of football. We're going to do a bunch of tier lists, a bunch of all fun stuff as we move into the week. Obviously, the live streams will be exclusively every single Tuesday on this channel, and then what we're going to be doing is the clips from the live will be released for the week. So obviously, guys, if you want to learn about a specific area and specific conversation, you can discuss with that. But there's only one place to start, and that's review the last game week of the Premier League. So there are the results there, as you can see on the screen. We'll go down one by one, starting off with the early Saturday kickoff. Manchester United picking up a 2-0 victory over Everton. It should have been more with the amount of shots that they had on target. Jordan Pickford definitely keeping them in the game. But following that Newcastle result, Gary, back to winning ways for Eric Den Hag's side.
Yeah, back to winning ways. Obviously, after the Newcastle game, I think they looked pretty poor against Newcastle, and they've just proved that they can just switch it on whenever they need to.
Absolutely. We've got to talk about Scott McTominay, Elliot. Scored a few goals in the international break and got another one. Do you think his confidence has definitely improved? Because he's been, all the Manchester United teams he's been involved in has been under massive scrutiny. Do you think he's building up his confidence now?
Yeah, I think under Ten Hag, he's really he's gone from there to there. Like his level's really gone up, and you can see he looks so much more dominant in that midfield.
I think also as well. Yeah, well, massive. Massive reason I put it down to is the quality of having Casemiro in there. Freeing that role and opportunity to move forward. Definitely, Gary. Let's speak about Everton, because I think they're on a little bit of a wish, aren't they, to stay in the Premier League at the moment? They look really, really poor in that game against Man United. Do you think it's time now for Everton to potentially go down, or do you think with the combination of Sean Dyche being there, a few players that definitely are quality, do you think that they could potentially stay up?
I mean, yeah, I think the combination of Sean Dyche and the players, I think they could possibly stay up. I mean, they are level on points with Nottingham Forest as it stands. Yeah, but I think they'll stay up by goal difference.
And Elliot, same question to you, mate. I mean, Everton has been, they struggled to stay in the league last season. Do you think it's their time to go?
Nah, I reckon they'll just finish above, because you got experience in there like Cody, ain't you, and Tarkowski.
Yeah.
They've been there, they've done that.
Yeah, they've got big personalities as well. Sean. I agree. So let's move on to Brentford versus Newcastle, another game that should have had a few more goals, a lot of VAR controversial decisions. But Newcastle are flying high. Actually went 1-0 down in this game following a second Ivan Toney penalty. He missed the first penalty he's missed in his Premier League career. But Newcastle just showing that they can fight back, aiming for that top four. Elliot, how impressive has Newcastle been this season? Do you think winning games like that almost secures you that spot?
Yeah, it just shows what Eddie Howe's done since he's come in, isn't it? From being a mid-table team to Eddie Howe coming in, bringing in players like Isaac, who obviously knows where the goal is and he can get goals from anywhere. Like, they've just gone up another level. And every week they just prove they deserve Champions League.
Absolutely. And also what I think is really interesting as well is that, he's reinventing players like Joe Ellington, who's coming in that midfield. He played, I thought what was interesting was Eddie Howe played Callum Wilson and Isak together in the Brentford game. Obviously, they brought Kieran Trippier, Dan Burn coming in and being probably the tallest left back I think I've ever witnessed in the Premier League. He is a absolutely massive human. I can't say the same for myself. But Gary, Newcastle, how impressive have they been this season? Obviously, they beat your team, West Ham, 5-1. Dominated before. I had to bring it up because I thought it was quite funny. Did you honestly finish and get Champions League?
I think they deserve it for what they've done over this season. I think they deserve it. Would they get it over like the likes of Spurs and Man United? I can't see it.
I think Man United have got it. Honestly, I think Man United have got it. We'll get into that in the tier list a bit later, but yeah, they deserve it. I mean, Spurs have been very inconsistent this season. We'll move on to Spurs in a bit, but let's briefly just finish off with this game and talk about Brentford. No worries, Elliot, with that. I mean, obviously, it's Newcastle are flying high at the moment, and they seem pretty comfortable. Brentford in the league, so no real comments on them, would you say?
I've got a thought of could they push possibly Conference League?
Oh no, please.
League?
Yeah, please go on. Yeah, please go on. Yeah,
because you see them this season, like they are doing very well this year. Because they've beaten Man United. What was it, 4-0 start of the season?
Yeah,
they've beaten some big sides up there, and they're up there for Europe.
Definitely. Well, I say Liverpool are obviously around there. Brighton are as well. Obviously both of the teams dropping points this game week. I mean,
Europe.
Yeah, well, Brentford are a great side. It almost reminds me, of the Sheffield United, the Wolves, the teams that have, come up and had a bit of a breath of fresh air within the league. And Brentford have definitely done that. And every time I watch them, they are entertaining to watch. I know that doesn't win you football matches, but yeah, definitely great side. And pleased to stay in the Premier League and very strong in there. Gary, let's move on to a positive then, shall we? West Ham United beating Fulham 1-0. David Moyes was on the chopping block. And he survived another week. Is that how you see it? Do you think he's surviving week by week, or do you think he's, with that win against Fulham, which is not an easy place to go to? Do you think that's probably the end of the rumours that David Moyes is leaving?
I think it's week by week. I think we've been absolutely piss poor the whole season. Really, I think the games we've won have either been luck. Obviously, again, Fulham game, it was lucky own goal. And obviously we just defended well. Obviously we'll see in the next one, obviously with one of the West Ham players in our team of the weeks, who was just absolutely solid. But yeah, I think, to be truthfully honest with you, I think it's time for him to go.
Wow. Any comments on the West Ham appointment? Do you think David Moyes should stay at the club? I mean, he's a top manager. He's done it for the Premier League a lot of times. Do you think West Ham should be keeping him?
I'll say end of the season, then look for somebody else. Because when he's got
they have a good enough squad to stay up.
Pardon?
They have a good enough squad to stay up.
Yeah, he'll keep them up, but then I think it's time to go to a younger manager. Because he's reached that Conference League with West Ham, and realistically, it's only going to go down from there, isn't it?
There we go. Yeah, brilliant. Start off with a positive. Go with a positive and end with a negative. Very good. But let's talk about another negative here. Leicester City. Actually, just a quick comment on Fulham. Actually, let's bring that in. Elliot, question to you then, mate. Do you think Fulham will miss Mitrovic? I mean, an 8-game ban for the incident in the Manchester United game. Obviously, putting his hands on the referee. Marco Silva was obviously in the stands as well, but you got to think that they're missing, their top striker in a game like that at home.
He's their main man, isn't he? He's the one that gets all their goals, starts all the attacks, holds play up well. But they've got Vinicius up top, but it's not the same as Mitrovic, is it? But they will massively miss him.
No. But obviously Fulham are safe. There's no arguing about that. If Fulham are in a relegation battle, a lot of questions probably will be answered, following the ban. Then Fulham are not in trouble. They'll probably try and end the season, and build upon this. Because again, Fulham has also been, same with Brentford, has been another great side and another great addition of the league. So let's go in then to Leicester versus Bournemouth. Another defeat for Leicester City. Bournemouth are... Again, we're talking about mistakes and we're talking about, West Ham being lucky in the games that they win. I think Leicester are unlucky consistently. I live in a house with a Leicester fan who just absolutely hates football at the moment. And before the game, there was reports about Jesse Marsch, being the next manager of Leicester City. It seems to be a role reverse. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But there's no fight, there's no hunger, there's no desire from Leicester. Is that a great way to sum it up, Gaz?
Yeah, I think it's a great way to sum it up. To be honest, obviously working with Leicester City as well, it's difficult to watch because obviously you want to see them do well and stay where they are, but it is just difficult to watch.
Yeah, he puts down the cones at the training grounds, I believe Gary does, for James Maddison and Varney to run around. Obviously, Bournemouth are down there, Elliot. Obviously, we've seen this almost sort of fight for Bournemouth. I would say, not talk about the Liverpool game. Let's move on from that. But they seem to be having a bit of a fight. Do you think they could stay up, or do you think it's a little bit too late for them?
See, it's very close at the bottom. Like, there's 5 points between safety and 15th or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I do think they will go down. I think it'll be right at the end. I reckon they fall right at the end.
Yeah, no, true. I'd say if you're basing it on how good looking the owners are, I think Bournemouth should be top of the league with Michael B. Jordan there. He's not a bad looking man. Anyway, let's move on to Spurs versus Brighton. I mean, Gary, you've seen Michael B. Jordan before. You'll agree with me. Stop giving me that face on live stream. Tottenham versus Brighton. This was a game full of VAR choices, so we could almost sort of talk about this game just with the VAR choices. But Tottenham are very, very lucky to get this. Get all 3 points here. Brighton played really well, but 2 red card incidences between the 2 managers. Apparently, that occurred from their playing days. They both played for rival teams in Italy, and it seemed to spill over to their managerial career. We spoke about Spurs earlier, Elliot, regarding the Champions League and whether they'll get in. I'm sure this is a very reluctant question for you. Could you see them do it, or do you think they're very inconsistent at the moment? And there's so many problems in that club.
I reckon they'll get Europa League. Champions League, I just don't see it. But I do think Europa League is where they'll be next year.
Saying that with such a big smile on his face, as you can see there. But Gary, Brighton, I mean, they were lucky not to get all 3 points, would you say? But they've definitely shown they can compete with the best, and they're up there at the moment. They are up there for that Europa League, Conference League place, which is, not being any offensive to Brighton fans, but you see, Brighton, Brentford, Fulham, they're not them traditional teams to fight for Europe, and Brighton seem to be doing that at the moment.
Yeah, Brighton seem to be doing it. I think as I'm looking at now, there's a point between Villa and Brighton, which would be that obviously last Europa League spot. I mean, I think they'd take both, either Europa League or Conference League. It's Europe, you're on a European tour. But then with the squads that Brighton has, with the amount of it, so it's like a small amount, would it affect them?
Yeah, I'd say so. But it's the same way that they're probably, if West Ham you've got to look at potentially West Ham, struggling with a smaller squad. You saw that with Wolves when they were playing. I mean, that was crazy when they were playing, and they did very well in the FA Cup. They were doing well in obviously the Premier League, and then when they played in Europa, they were playing a lot of matches, and with such a small squad, that's what you got to ask for. They've got to invest. That's what I mean. If you get European places, you've got to invest. You've got to build up your squad with players that can play. Have your strong 11. Decide what competition you're going to sort of focus on and go with that, and then have squad players. But no, it'll be great to see, like we're saying about Newcastle with the Champions League, it'd be great to see some of them new teams move into the Europe places. As long as Liverpool's got some Europe football, I don't think we'll get Champions League, which we'll discuss about in a bit. But for me personally, it'll be great to see. Wolves versus Chelsea, and I mean, this game is highlighted by 2 things. The fact that, Nunez's goal was absolutely spectacular. and Frank Lampard, obviously his return to Chelsea. Gary, I'll give you the opportunity to talk about Chelsea because I know how much you love them. First of all, what are your thoughts on Frank's appointment? And I saw a lot of people who watched the game, slag Chelsea off about the way that they play. 11 individuals just playing football. Real sort of words you don't really hear from it being spoken about a Chelsea side. What do you think about the whole Chelsea deal at the moment? Started off with the return of Super Frank.
Was it a quick decision just to get someone in? Yes. But then at the same time, Lampard really hasn't done anything with the club. Obviously, Everton, yeah, he kept them up. But they were piss poor the whole season, last season. Chelsea, when he was first there, I think they weren't even in the Champions League that season, were they? Like, they didn't qualify for it.
I think they did. Because he played for financial fair play, so he got them in the issue with that was because he has all the money. Financial fair play, sort of affected him from making signings. He had the squad and then, got them into the Champions League, and then they spent on. That was the season of sort of Kai Havertz come in, Timo Werner, Ziyech players coming in like that, and that's when they sort of fell off. So, that was. Yeah, Chelsea are going through once again a massive restructure. Did you see the news about James Corden, by the way? Did anybody see about that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So he is friends with Todd Bowley, the Chelsea owner, and he advised him to get Frank Lampard. I don't know how true that is, but you see him like dinners with him and stuff like that. It's just a bit, yeah. It was an interesting decision because I believe James Corden's is he a West Ham fan? Yeah. That's a bit. He's at the fandom in Gary's opinion.
Something going on there.
Yeah, that late show's got some really good money. That wasn't even that funny. But Wolves, I mean, what an incredible goal! I mean, that's a big 3 points for them. Elliot, would you say? Obviously, they are down there. They're on that brink, but they definitely played a lot better than Chelsea. Even though that was a spectacular goal. Did you see it?
Oh, that goal from Núñez, that is quality. Do you know what that reminds me of? Do you remember the Vardy goal from a few years back? I think it was against Liverpool.
It was, yeah. Yeah, it was. No, I was there. Like I remember, and I remember I was there for that volley. It was on the 2nd of February, 2016. I'm not going to show you. I've got a coaster, which I'll show you after, because there's people on it that we're not allowed to share on stream. But I was there. I walked out with the players, the Leicester players. I walked out with Kante. I was taller than him. Which, by the way, throughout the duration of these live streams, you've got to say that there's going to be a lot of jokes regarding my height. So just to forewarn people. But yeah, I walked out with N'Golo Kante and saw that live, and that was one heck of a volley. Also very similar to Bergkamp's as well. I would say. But no, Elliot, please do carry on. I cut you off there.
Right, back to what I was saying.
Yes, there we go.
That goal, that could probably be a contender for goal of the season, in my opinion.
Yeah,
hands
definitely.
down. And as I'm looking at it now, they're 4 points off relegation. With the last 8 games are going to be big.
Yeah,
But
business end of the season. Yeah,
I think they will comfortably finish mid-table. But I think what Lopetegui's doing with that Wolves team, he's bringing them back to where they were. Well, even just the season before this, when they were hovering around Europe, and I reckon he will stabilise the team very well. And next season, you'll see the real Wolves going up.
Yeah, a lot of people were surprised. I was surprised when a lot of people did put Wolves down there in terms of like the table. I was really surprised, but no, what a great 3 points for them against a struggling Chelsea team. Aston Villa picking up a 2-0 win over Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest, not a lot of people are talking about them with relegation. If they're not careful, they could go down. They've been on one of the worst runs, and despite signing what is it, like a 6-year contract at the club, Steve Cooper's now job could potentially be under jeopardy. Unai Emery was not very complimentary about Aston Villa's performance, saying that they need to do more for Europe. Gary, do you agree with Emery's comments about Villa potentially doing more? Because as you can see by the table, that they're not far off, but they say that they should do a lot more. He's obviously got experience in that competition.
Yeah, obviously he's not far off. I think they do have the experience, but I think they do need to create that gap between Brighton, and I think it needs to show like, look, we are solid now. We're making a squad here, and we're going to focus on getting Europe.
And obviously, Forest, the biggest squad of any Premier League team, the amount of players that they've got in there. Do you think that squad and constant rotation, is helping them, Elliot, or do you think personally that's what's hindering them? I mean, they've had some quite shocking results over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I think it's when you change team so much, like it's hard to make a team that bonds together, gels well, learns how each other plays, and even minimal changes every week, that still hinders that. So there's not a set team. You need we'll play this team for a few weeks. They'll learn how each other play, and you win points that way. But individually, they have some really good players, such as Brennan Johnson, Keylor Navas, players like that.
Yeah, but I said Morgan Gibbs White as well.
Pardon?
Morgan Gibbs White as well. I would say they've got some ex-Atletico Madrid guys, so it's as
a team, I don't know. They just need to stop rotating and just stick with it, I reckon.
Absolutely. Well, Manchester City round off the Saturday games with a 4-1 victory over Southampton. Absolutely in style. And we're talking about Nunez's goal as quality, and it was. You've got to say Haaland's second goal as well definitely deserved that mention. What a fantastic finish from him. Manchester City are on absolute fire at the moment. We'll speak about the run-in to the title, the race to that Premier League title a little bit later on in the show. We've got a lot to discuss because I feel like I keep saying that. I'm very repetitive in saying that. But I want to focus on one man at the moment, and it's not Haaland, surprisingly, because the man, we know how good of a player he is, 30 goals this season. Gary, I want to speak about Jack Grealish, mate, because the last few performances he's been making, the Liverpool game and in this one, he has been so influential for this Man City team. A lot of question marks were over his name when Pep Guardiola signed him for the steam amount of money that he did. Is he now proving his worth? Is he now fitting into Guardiola's schedule and system? And do you personally think that this is, Jack Grealish back to his best?
Yeah, I think it's got Jack Grealish back to his best, and I think he's settling in at Man City. It could be whether he was homesick going to Man City and obviously not performing the best. But now I think we're starting to see the best of Jack Grealish and what he was at Villa and kind of carrying the team forward, obviously not just by himself, but with loads of other players around him. So, for instance, Haaland, De Bruyne, and I think he is influential to the title race ending the way that it could.
Absolutely. And obviously, Son hit the 100 club. We did mention that about Spurs, but Son is the first Asian player to ever get 100 goals in the Premier League. But we've got another member of the 100 club, but instead of goals, it's assists. I'm sure he'll get there with goals of how good of a player he is. Kevin De Bruyne. And again, another quality player who's been doing it for so long. Would you, if somebody turns around to you and says, the greatest Premier League team of all time, do you put De Bruyne in that midfield?
Hands down, no debate. He's got to be in there. Since he's joined City from Wolfsburg, he has absolutely destroyed the Premier League.
There we go. Summed it up perfectly. I mean, this was a game that started off very, very light. It was the build up, the setup for the big game between Liverpool and Arsenal, but then it ended up being a goal fest. Crystal Palace 5, Leeds 1. Roy Hodgson back in football after his retirement, came out of retirement, and you know what? His interviews are the best, by the way, because you can just really tell he just does not want to do them. He's like, he's not on autopilot every time he does an interview. Elliot, this has been a very repetitive question regarding Leeds that they can't defend, they're not defensive enough. I mean, this is one of the many examples that we could give, surely. Crystal Palace beating you at home by 5-1.
Yeah. I mean, you shouldn't be conceding 5 at home. When you're down there, you just defend to try and get at least a point. From these games, you want at least a point. But they just didn't seem to do it. They went 1-0 up, which was good, obviously. But it's like once Palace scored, they just took their foot off the gas. They didn't want to defend.
Yeah.
And that's what cost them in the end.
Definitely. So let's move into the big game. Gary, we're going to go to you first, mate, because you are the neutral fan in this conversation. Liverpool 2, Arsenal 2. What did you make of the game firstly? And just speak about sort of any sort of general points that you want. I'm sure me and Elliot will be there to defend our teams once you've made your points. So no pressure, but try and keep us both happy in your answer.
To be honest, I thought Arsenal was going to run on over Liverpool. I'll be truthfully honest with you, because the way Liverpool have been this season have been 1 minute they've been absolutely brilliant, then next thing absolutely shocking. For instance, beating Man U 7-0, then going to lose to Bournemouth 1-0.
Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you.
That can't happen for a club like Liverpool.
No.
I mean, Arsenal, against the big clubs, they have dropped a few points. And this is my personal opinion. And I'll always say this, and this will probably make Elliot smile. I think Arsenal will win the league this year.
Well, that's a different topic of conversation. I know that you summarised that. But if we specifically talk about this game, that's the next segment. But what do you make of the game?
I don't know. Game of two halves, really. I think it was. I think Salah, how's he missed that penalty? But I've got nothing else to say.
Well, the Liverpool. Will tell you what. I think Salah should took off penalties for a little bit. Obviously missing the one against Bournemouth, that was poor. Again, that one, that was obviously once again a big miss. Like I said, I agree with Gary. I think it was a game of two halves. That first half an hour, I have never seen a worse performance from Liverpool at home, even when we've lost games. Even when we've lost games, we've kept pushing, we've kept fighting, we've been unlucky in a few games. Absolutely. We could not string two passes together. We could not defend. Credit to Arsenal with this, but we could not attack. We could not break them down at all. There was after the Chelsea game, I said there was a lack of creativity within this squad, and I think it's showing in that first half hour. What the hell is he thinking about putting Trent as his holding midfielder role? Personally, I think it's a really original thing, and you're seeing Man City do it at the moment, you're seeing Arsenal do it, and do it to perfection. He tried it with Trent. A lot of people saying that he should be moved into the midfield. He got that opportunity in it, and it just did not work. And absolutely dominant. We then moved into the second half. Everyone's talking about the Xhaka incident riling up the crowd. I'm surprised that it took an incident like that to rile up the crowd. Xhaka's getting blamed for it. At the end of the day, we've seen that time and time again with Granit Xhaka, riling, people up and stuff like that. But the fact that was the cause of Liverpool, getting back into the game, okay, I'm not really sure how that really works. But yeah, like you said, Salah should have scored the penalty. It was a definite penalty. I think he was looking to score his first goal. Actually, I'm not sure whether Henderson that was actually supposed to be a pass. I thought that was a little bit of a let's just kick it somewhere. Yeah, then obviously Firmino, when he came on, they came up with the graphic, 10 goals against Arsenal. And
Inevitable.
then, like you said, it was inevitable, wasn't it?
It was always inevitable.
But man of the game, man of the match, shall we say, Aaron Ramsdale. I mean, he kept Arsenal in that game in the last few minutes. That save from Salah, Kanate. Honestly, if it was anybody else but him and Henderson, that would have gone in the back of the net. Like with pure power, but it dropped to him and Ramsdale. You can't knock anything with a save. So again, it's a point against the leaders at home. That's better than a lot of results we've had this season. So I am going to take it as a point. Ellie, I'm going to ask this question to you, mate, because something that I picked up on commentary was that Jamie Carragher was saying, just get out of there. Just get out of there with a point. I'm not sure whether that was wise to sort of say, because I don't think Arsenal could have got away with a point. They could have won the game. Do you think that is... Do you look at that as 2 points dropped or 1 point gained? What would you say?
See, it's always hard going to Anfield because we haven't won there since 2011.
Yeah.
So, and that was when Arteta scored, by the way. That's how long ago it was.
There we go.
But, yeah. So, considering that, you'll obviously take a point away from home at Liverpool because Anfield is one of the hardest places to go. But in the title race, especially if you factor in the chance at the end, and Martinelli just missed that pass into Saka, I think you could look at it as both ways, 1 point gained and 2 points dropped. Because that 2 points is big in the title race.
Yeah, well, like I said, we will talk about that, and that's obviously definitely a topic of discussion, regarding it. So we are going to move into our next segment. If Gary could just move it over. There it is. It is our team of the weeks. It is our team of the weeks. As you can see, Gary's in the middle, mine on the left, and Elliot's on the right. We are going to go to Gary first, speak about his team. As you can see, the players that are starred are players that we've all got in our team. So that's West Ham's Kurt Zouma in a different formation from Elliot's, but still in the squad. And also, man of the moment, 30 goals in the Premier League, being Haaland. So, let's get into it. Gary, started off with you, mate. Do you want to briefly talk about your team and why you've made the selections?
Well, Fabianski made some crucial saves and was strong, kind of making up for what happened against Newcastle. But yeah, he looked absolutely brilliant. Semedo, good pushing forward. Gave Chelsea's back line something to question about. Martinez, always strong at the back. Can't question things about that. Zuma, obviously, again, kept a clean sheet and was just, again, strong at the back. Moreno, again, pushing forward. Bowen just kept attacking against Fulham's back line. De Bruyne is just De Bruyne. Billing. Now, this will be a shock. I don't know if any of you two have seen it. The free kick that he almost scored.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would have been.
He scored the winner. He scored the winner.
Tell you what, this year, Billing has been insane for Bournemouth. For a struggling team like that, Billing has scored quite a lot of important goals for them.
Jesus, obviously it's Jesus. Like, he's on fire with Arsenal. Harry Kane is Harry Kane, and then Haaland, because obviously he's just a machine.
You when we discussed about the West Ham game, you said you were lucky to beat Fulham, yet you've got three West Ham players in your squad. Which I thought was very interesting. Elliot, we're going to move on to yours, mate. Obviously, like you said, Zuma and Haaland both in there, but we'd like to discuss as why you played the other 9.
Yeah, so obviously Ramsdale had to be in there for me because of the saves that he made, such as last minute, and Ake, I thought it was really solid. There's that good run by Sulemana when, I don't know if you've seen it, Ake chased him down for God knows how long. Zuma, just like Gary said. Trent, going back defending was questionable as always, but no, I'll put him in because of going forward. Because of that ball.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. I agree.
Going forward, he was a threat all game. You got Martinelli, obviously goal and assist. McTominay, another goal. Played very well. Elise, 3 assists. So for me, he had to be in there. Grealish, again, very good. Like we touched on earlier about his Aston Villa form. Jesus, I think he done very well against that Liverpool back four. Haaland's just Haaland. And Ayew with 2 goals.
Yeah. So just to quickly obviously sum up, by Ramsdale, I thought kept Arsenal in the game with that second half performance and some fantastic saves. I thought Semedo, as Gary said, really caused Chelsea some problems, particularly in the back line, which is almost, 2 centre backs, a left back. It really is almost sort of, who do you play in that? So for me, that's why Semedo is in, because he caused so many problems. Kurt Zuma, I thought, was strong. Had a really good performance against Fulham. I thought Konate actually had a decent game. He was physical. He won his battles. In the games, that's what we need. He needs to have a running of games because I think he definitely now needs to get picked over Matip more consistently. Moreno, he's a good left back. And obviously Aston Villa really pushing for that Europe. I think he could be that solid player that you need, that solid defence. Eze, I thought, ran the show. I mean, his goal was fantastic. A really creative, English player. I know there's a lot of people in that position at the moment, but he definitely shouldn't be one to ignore. Nunez, purely because of the goal. I mean, what a stunning, fantastic goal that was, and won the game for Wolves, vital 3 points. De Bruyne, I mean, 100 club, there's no need to comment. Same as Haaland. And Grealish, we mentioned obviously how positive he's been over the last few weeks, vital to City in so many moments. And then Ayew, again, obviously with the goals. And he's been a player who seems to be coasting, seems to be a very casual player. And it's definitely, worked. He worked under Vieira and now working under Roy Hodgson. Two very different managers. So, but that is our team of the weeks. Obviously, comment in the description below or in the live chat of this segment of the show who you put in your team of the week, of course. And if you guys just want to check out more segments for the show, so checking out the full live stream, please just go over to the video sections. Video uploads will be made consistently throughout the week. Let's move on then to our next segment, which is the race for the title. There you see Arsenal fixtures on the left, Manchester City's on the right. This upcoming weekend sees Arsenal travel to London rivals West Ham, which I'm sure will be a very interesting topic of conversation for next week's Footy Fan Zone. And then, of course, Manchester City hosting struggling Leicester City. But as you can see there, Arsenal top with a game in hand, 6 points. Manchester City with a 5+ goal difference. And to be honest, I'm going to be honest here, I think Arsenal dropping points whilst it was, it was against Liverpool, it was against Anfield, it was at Anfield. I could honestly say that has really opened up the title race now. And I think it's Arsenal's, league to lose now. Do I want them to win it? Yes. Do I think they'll win it? I'm not sure now. Obviously, Manchester City's game in hand is against Brighton away. Brighton are not an easy side, but you would like to see Manchester City winning that game. And then obviously it's the big one. It is, on April 26th. The fact that it is at Manchester City as well. If they win them games, they're level on points with them. And obviously, then it's the battle it's the battle to the end of the season. Looking at Arsenal's running, I would say that Arsenal's probably got an easier running. I would say Southampton, winnable. It's definitely winnable. There's no doubt about that. West Ham is winnable. You can't say anything different. Nottingham Forest is definitely winnable. Wolves is winnable, and then but Manchester City, have still got to. Chelsea obviously is. They always seem to struggle against Chelsea. Brentford will give them a good game. So obviously the Arsenal game as well. The only thing that I'm looking at with this is Manchester City still in the Champions League. A lot of people have said that Pep Guardiola has prioritised the Champions League rather than the Premier League, and is that the case? He's not come out and said it. A lot of people have just sort of speculated that. Is that going to boast in Arsenal's favour? Obviously, them crashing out of the Europa League. Arsenal fans were happy. I'm sure I can speak for many Arsenal fans I've heard about. Elliot will provide sort of what he thinks in a minute. But, I do honestly think that it's a really entertaining title race, but it is Arsenal's one to lose. Elliot, why don't you share your opinion on that one, mate?
Yeah, I don't think the Champions League will be much of an issue because you look at City's squad. They've got a big squad, quality players in every position. Like, they can rotate and it still look like their first team. But
yeah, it
could affect them in a way because there's multiple games being played in a week. And all they need is one injury, say one big injury to Haaland. And that's a lot of their goals gone.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I was happy when we was at the Europa League. Well, after about a day or so. Because you was with me that night.
But I was there. That was a crushing blow, wasn't it? I was.
Yeah, but
looking at these fixtures, though, you've both got to play Chelsea at home. Looking at your fixture list, I know I've looked at it and seen. Is there any potential place that you could see dropping points? Obviously, the Man City game is going to be the hardest you've got in the bunch. But would you say is there any other games where you could see dropping points? I know I stated Chelsea, and obviously no, Chelsea's not going to be easy. But what would you say?
I think the only place we can drop points is that middle four: City, Chelsea, Newcastle, Brighton. That's going to be
Brighton. Yeah,
because Brighton, not many people find it easy against Brighton. Solid team.
It's true.
Newcastle still got Europe to play for. Chelsea.
Yeah, and also there's also that break as well, isn't there? May the 3rd, which they've got to go and play against West Ham. So you got that break. They've also got, obviously, as we mentioned, the Champions League places. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Man City.
There's definitely places for both teams to drop points. But if City do end up winning all the games, then they will win the league on goal difference, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that works out like that. Yeah. Gary obviously mentioned City. We've obviously mentioned that the Europa League, the Champions League sort of element being in Europe. Looking at their fixture list, would you say that they've got no place where they should really be dropping points? I mean, Leeds at home, Fulham away is going to be a tough game. Obviously, Mitrovic is out, so is it? There's obviously a big question mark there. They play Leicester at home, which Leicester are obviously really struggling. Yeah, they've got a lot of home games, a lot of home games where against the lower tier teams. What would you say?
I think the only one that I can really see them dropping, well, actually there might be two, is Brentford could potentially do something, and I think the only other one would be Arsenal.
You're not saying Chelsea?
No. I think Chelsea.
They always struggle against Chelsea, though. They always struggle against Chelsea. Like, that's always been their sort of bogey team.
Yeah, but still, Chelsea's back line is looking horrendous at the moment. And Man City will just take full advantage.
Do you know what? I honestly think the Brighton game's going to be if they lose that one, that is going to be interesting. They lose against Brighton, a game in hand, which will help them out. then they've got to rely on Arsenal dropping points, elsewhere to get back to them, 6 points. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. But honestly, personally, I don't know who's going to win the league. I really, really don't. I want Arsenal to win it because it is somebody different. The rivalry with obviously Manchester City as well as a Liverpool fan. So I want Arsenal to win it, I would say. Elliot, I'm not going to not ask you, but I feel like I know your answer. So we're gonna speak to Gary. Gary, who do you want to see win the league, and who do you think will win the league?
Who do I want to see win the league? It's Man City.
That's what I've just asked. You want Man City to win? Oh, because
of the London rivalry. But who I think will win it is Arsenal.
There we go. He's trying to please all parties, as I can see there. He's trying to stay loyal to his fans, his fan club, and also be a popular one so he doesn't get booted out the next episode. But that is obviously the race for the title. It's going to be a progressive thing. Obviously, we'll talk about this week by week. But definitely looking forward to seeing who is going to be winning the Premier League on May 28th, or before potentially. But obviously that's the end of that segment. So we'll be moving on to this big news because Leicester City have appointed Dean Smith as their new manager. This was announced last night. As we mentioned before, Jesse Marsch was the favourite. The former Leeds manager was the favourite to surpass Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers has also come out in a statement and said that if they'd stuck with him, he would have kept them up, which I thought was an interesting statement to make. I'm sure Gary knew about that already. But honestly, it's a very, very interesting appointment. Ali, what do you make of it, mate? Because I have a few opinions, but I'm going to keep them to myself for a minute and let you. What would you say?
Yeah, I think it's a positive recruitment by Leicester. So obviously he's experienced. He's done quite well in the Prem. I do think he'll keep them up. I think the players will like to work under him. And yeah, overall I think it's positive and it'll take them where they want to be.
Who do you think is going down? Because every team we discussed, you said about them staying up. Who would you say is going down?
My three to go down. You've got Southampton.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me get a table up. Hang on.
Very good.
Hang
We'll do it. We'll obviously do the tier list.
We'll do the tier list later, Kieran. You've just.
Well, it might. Elliot's free. It might not be the dedicated free.
Southampton, Forest, Bournemouth.
Okay. Yeah, I might be swayed towards that. I was going to put Leicester down there, but yeah, I'm not sure about it personally. I think I would personally prefer to go with Jesse Marsch. I think his style of play, I think potentially could fit for Leicester. It is just for me, it's just a bit odd. I don't really get why they would go for it. Obviously, we had experience with Aston Villa, and obviously they're Norwich, but I don't personally think that is the correct appointment for Leicester. I think it could have got out, potentially got somebody else. It's definitely a great club, which a lot of really great culture. For me, I just can't. I just personally don't see this. I think it honestly was the Leicester owner was happy to sort of get to the end of the season, and then the defeat to Aston Villa in the week, said, "Oh, we're going to really rank up the pressure of looking for a new manager." And I was just a little bit sort of like, really? Like, you're in a relegation fight and you're just casually looking for a new manager, which I don't personally agree with. But for me, it's an interesting one. Obviously, I have to see what he does. He's got a big game, obviously, the toughest game against Man City away. Obviously, in his first game, it's not going to be easy. So I don't think a lot of Leicester fans are going to look at that game and think automatic victory. But Gary, what do you make of it, mate? Will you be shaking his hand the next time you're around there?
I actually don't know because I have met Rodgers and spoke to him about this season, and I obviously, you'll know this, Kieran, I went to the Blackburn and Leicester game in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
And just watching Leicester, obviously, they looked so shaky. Honestly, it didn't look like they had any concrete anywhere, not even in the midfield, nor the defence. And I think that was players losing faith in Rodgers. And obviously now we'll find out what Dean Smith can do.
But potentially, we might get Dean Smith on the show if you get to meet him. Just drop him a mention and say that we that obviously he can come on and we can have a bit of an interview. I'm sure my father will be happy to speak to him. I'm sure he'll just take over this whole show. I won't even get a chance to talk. But it's an interesting one, so we'll have to see what happens with Dean Smith. Right, let's move into the tier list. Let's talk about the tier list, guys. If you can get that on, that'd be great, because we did discuss them.
Well, unless you want to do the scores, and then I can get the...
We'll do the scores.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine. So obviously the early kickoff sees Aston Villa host Newcastle. Gary, what's your score prediction for that one?
2-0 Newcastle.
Elliot?
I'm going to say 2-1 Newcastle.
Okay. Southampton versus Crystal Palace. Obviously, Southampton losing to Man City 4-1, and then Palace beating Leeds 5-1. So this might be a lot of goals. What are you saying, Elliot?
I reckon 3-0 Palace in this one.
Gary?
I'm going to go 2-0 Palace.
Okay. Fulham obviously still not got... Mitrovic could cause them a lack of goals, but they are playing Everton. I'm sensing this could potentially be a sharing of the points. Gary, do you agree with that? What are you saying?
I'm going to go 1-0.
Elliot?
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. 1-0.
Spurs versus Bournemouth. This is going to be interested to see whether Bournemouth is once again going to cause a bit of fight against one of the top teams. What top teams are no Spurs? Don't get angry with me. Elliot, would you say the Spurs victory, is that going to be a very painful thing to say?
Yeah. I don't want to say it, but I think you're going to win 3-0.
Oh, you can see the pain. Gary?
Bournemouth 1-0.
That you'll have to see. Doing score predictions with Gary, you're going to see over the next few weeks. So Gary always goes for the underdogs, and it never happens. Honestly, we need to put money on this.
You love to see it, though.
Do. Yeah, you do, but it just shows his stupidity. Wolves versus Brentford. Let's go with that, Gaz. What are you saying?
2-0 Brentford.
Elliot?
2-1 Brentford.
Okay, Chelsea versus Brighton. Cucurella's playing against his old team. Obviously, Graham Potter would have, but he's gone now. Is that going to be another defeat for Chelsea, Elliot?
Yeah, I reckon it'll be 2-0 Brighton.
Gary?
I'm going to go 1-0 Brighton.
Manchester City versus Leicester is the late kickoff on Saturday. A very tough start for Dean Smith as Leicester manager. Elliot?
4-0 Man City.
Gary?
I don't want to say this, but 2-0 Man City.
2-0 Man City, okay. Obviously, this is the big one, the West Ham versus Arsenal. It's great to see two of the three teams that we support take on each other so soon. That's great to see. Elliot, what are you saying for that one, mate?
3-1 Arsenal, I reckon.
Go on, Gary. What are you saying? Are we saying 5-0 West Ham? Is that your prediction?
Do you know what? 1-0 West Ham. Fuck it.
Okay, all right, moving on. Nottingham Forest versus Man United is the only game. Oh, no, the second game on Sunday. Gary?
4-0 Man United.
Elliot?
We'll go with 3-0.
Man United?
Yeah, sorry, 3-0 Man United, yeah.
You could have gone Forest, and that would have surprised all of us. And I would have loved you for it. And then the battle of the teams starting with L, Leeds versus Liverpool. Elliot?
Ooh. I reckon.
Just say it.
I reckon 2-1 Liverpool.
I like you. Gary?
1-0 Leeds.
Don't like you. Right, let's move on to the tier list before we
He's
get
done that
into
on
any more
purpose.
argument. He has, Annie. You can just see his face. So let's move into.
May or may
tier
not have done that deliberately.
We just agreed with you on that one. There we go. We got a confession. So here's how the tier list is going to work. It's going to be put into distinct tiers as it just gets loaded up here, and we're going to have to agree. So we're going to have to agree on it. As you can see, this is the tier list, and the teams are selected where they are positioned currently at the time of this live stream. What we're going to be doing is that we're going to start on the relegation. We're going to agree on 3 teams that is going to be the relegation, and then we're going to move up the table, starting off with relegation. Now, Elliot already revealed his picks just because I questioned him on it earlier. He was just doing his job. So I'll write them down on the 3, and then we'll have to debate it. So, Elliot, if you would like to remind myself and the audience who you're putting in the relegation spot.
Yeah, I went to Southampton, Notts Forest,
Yep.
and Bournemouth.
Southampton, Forest, and Bournemouth. And Gary, who are you putting in there?
I'm going to go Southampton, Leeds, and Forest.
So I'm also going to go with Southampton. I'm also going to go with Forest, and I'm going to put Everton in there. So Forest and Southampton are in because we all agree on that. So now it's the argument between Bournemouth, Everton, and Leeds. I mean, does anybody want to start with this one, or do you want to? I mean, obviously we're all sort of not in agreement, but a 3-way tie here. I can see Bournemouth going down. I can. I can. So I'll probably put my vote towards that one. But I just don't know. I think Everton are so shaky at the moment. Anybody want to defend their teams religiously, or?
I mean, you can see any of them going down. They've all got the same chance going down for me.
Gary?
I don't know. I mean, I agree with Elliot. I mean, I can see all 3 going down. It's just who is the question.
I think Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth has got a big chance to go down. So personally, I'll put my vote for Bournemouth as well.
I think overall, Bournemouth has the weakest squad out of 3. Because they obviously just come up.
Nobody's put Leicester in there. It's interesting. They're 2 points off Southampton at the moment. Bournemouth have got to massively drop points. Leicester have got a tough run in as well. But there it is. Southampton, Bournemouth, and Forest. So let's go with the low mid-table then, 14th to 17th. It's going to be a very, very interesting one. So, Gary, we'll start with you, mate. Well, what are you saying for this one?
Are we going 17th to 14th, or do you want to go 14th to 17th?
17th to 14th, if you please.
Right, I'll go Everton, Leicester, Wolves, Leeds, and Crystal Palace.
Wolves, Leeds, and Crystal Palace. Elliot, your order, please, mate.
17th to 14th, yeah?
Please, mate.
Right. Everton, Leicester, Leeds, West Ham, Wolves.
Oh, you put West. Okay, all right. So that's a team to debate. I'm also going to put West Ham in that sort of lot, but I'm not going to put that in that order. I'm going to agree with Everton and Leicester. I'm then going to say Leeds, then Wolves, and then West Ham. So Crystal Palace is out because it's only got 1 vote. Everton and Leicester are cemented in the places, so we can put them there, Gary, if you please. And then also Leeds are also in. We've then got to make an argument now between where West Ham are going to go and where Wolves are going to go. So yeah, that's going to be. So Gary, obviously you didn't put West Ham in there at all. Me and Elliot sort of dragged them in there. So would you say that I'm guessing they're going to be high for you then?
To be honest, I was going to put us 13th, but I mean, I'll accept dropping it down.
Okay, so dropping it down to 14th.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what? Wolves? See, Wolves are an interesting one though because, like I said, they've not, like Elliot said earlier, they've not been at their best this season. I could potentially see them being at their best in the next season. So I agree with that. Elliot, what are you saying about it? What are you saying, mate? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I could agree with what's been said. I don't really have anything to add.
Okay, so if we go, we go Wolves. We're going to go in 14th. No, sorry, 15th, and then we're going to put West Ham 14th.
Yep.
There we go. So now we're going to go from 13th to 8th. We got the teams. We got the teams there. So who are we saying out of that list at the moment? So the 5 teams. Elliot, you first, mate.
For me, it's got to be, I think, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Brentford, Villa, and Chelsea.
Villa. You put Villa in there. Wow.
Villa
Okay.
and Chelsea.
Gary, who are you putting in there, mate?
I'll go Fulham, Brentford, Brighton, Chelsea, and it'll have to be Palace.
Okay. I'm also going to put in Fulham. I'm also going to put in Palace. I'm also going to put in Brentford. I'm going to put in Villa for that one. And that's 4 out of the 5. I can see Brighton. In there. So we've got 4 out of the 5 that we've all selected. So that will be in reverse order. We're going to go with Fulham, then Palace, then Brentford, and then Brighton. So we're dropping Brighton out from the Conference League places. We've all agreed on Brighton. Now we've got this argument here about Villa and Chelsea. 2 of us have gone for both of these teams. So Liverpool will drop out of that, and then it'll be Villa, who are currently sitting 6th, and Chelsea, who are in amongst that area. Does anybody want to debate why, or do you want to say, Gary, who you agree with, Villa or Chelsea, mate? It's a 50-50.
Chelsea.
Elliot?
Go with Chelsea.
Okay,
Nice.
all right. Well, I was going to go. I was going to go Villa. I think Chelsea will have a build up, but Chelsea's in there then. So Chelsea's is in that order. So now we've got 7th. So are we agreeing with Liverpool, or are we going to drop in Villa in there as well? Is that an argument to be made?
I'm sticking with Liverpool.
Yeah,
I'll stick Villa in there.
you stick Villa in there. I'd stick Villa in there as well. I'm going to say Liverpool for Europa League, and then I do agree with that one. I do agree with 6th and 5th for me. Any? Are we swapping them over? Is Liverpool having a late surge for 5th? What are we saying, Elliot? What about you, mate?
No, I think it'll. To us, I think the rest of it will stay like that.
To be honest, I think Man United and Newcastle are going to swap.
I think so. I think personally. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I see. This is now going to put me on the spot about the title. I'm saying I'm going to go personal preference. I'm going to stick with Arsenal then Chelsea. Arsenal then City. Sorry, Arsenal then City. Is that what we're sticking with?
Yep.
Yeah.
Final one then. So to sum it all up, Southampton last place, then Bournemouth, then Forest, then Everton, then Leicester, then Leeds, then Wolves, then West Ham, then Fulham, Crystal Palace, Brentford, Brighton, and Chelsea. In the Conference League sits Aston Villa. The Europa League in the 6th is Liverpool. 5th is Spurs. The Champions League will see Newcastle at 4th, Man United in 3rd, City at 2nd, and then Arsenal as the title winners. So that is our tier list. We'll try and do a tier list every single week. obviously you guys could go over to Tier List Maker where that tier list is, and then obviously then you can submit your own. Or you can do it in the comment section below. But I'd advise doing a tier list. It's a bit more fun than just commenting all the positions out in the comment section below. So let's get in, actually, Gary. If we just drop the segment for a minute, because we're going to get into some Q&A questions. That's what we're going to do now, mate. We're going to flop over because also as well, by the way, guys, you can go over either in the comment section below or on our social medias and submit questions that you want to ask to Gary and Elliot. I've got the first 10 questions here that I've made up just to have a question. You have to answer all of the questions. You can't go, I don't know, or I don't want to answer. You can't pass any. Short answers would be advised. Trying to, do a quick one, and then also at the end of the Q&A, you can't debate, you can't argue with anybody's answers, but I'll give you the opportunity to debate and argue one answer as well, just to build up a bit of a strong conversation. But it gives the fans a bit of an insight into what are your thoughts on football. So the first question here to both of you, starting up, Elliot can answer can go first for this one. The best player, Elliot, you have seen live.
Best player I've seen live. There's not a lot to choose from, mate. Actually.
Oh, he's 4-1.
Wait, does it have to be during that game or just in general?
In general.
In general, Wayne Rooney.
Wayne Rooney. I mean, that's a good one. It's a good one. Gary, what about you, mate?
Well, it's between two. It's either Vardy or Tielemans. Because I've met Tielemans whilst out shopping. Bit random,
okay,
but yeah.
Nice. Picking up your weekly shopping. What supermarket? What supermarket was that?
It was Home Bargains, actually.
Home Bargains. What's Tielemans doing in Home Bargains?
And it was in Loughborough.
And it was in Loughborough. God, what is he doing there? Right.
And Jamie Vardy, because obviously I've actually gone to watch him play live.
So are we saying Vardy then?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Vardy. Yeah.
Okay, I'm saying Kante. For obvious reasons. Elliot, back to you, mate. Lampard, Gerrard, or Scholes? You got to rank them. You're answering it in a minute. I don't know why you're laughing.
Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes.
Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes. Okay, Gary?
Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes.
I'm both putting Scholes up there. Okay. Okay, question 3. One player from your rival team you would want to sign. So West Ham's rivals with everybody, same as Arsenal. So I'll put a bit of restrictions on this one. So Elliot, you say from Spurs, mate. Gary, you go from West Ham. From Chelsea, I meant. I would have gone Millwall, but you would have just violently given me a death stare. So you go Chelsea. Elliot, start with you, mate. Player from Spurs.
None of them. Nah, it's got to be Son, isn't it?
Yeah. Who you taking out? And that's got to play Son.
It'd have to be Martinelli, wouldn't it?
Tough questions. Gary from Chelsea.
Oh, God. Enzo Fernandez.
Okay, who you taking out of West Ham squad to play him?
Souček.
Very nice. Favourite football pundit? Elliot?
Not Danny Murphy, that's for sure. No, it's got to be.
Murphy?
Huh?
There's nothing wrong with Danny Murphy. Jermaine Genius is a questionable one.
They're both boring, aren't they? It's got to be Ian Wright, isn't it?
Ian Wright, yeah, very good.
Richards.
Yeah, Gary?
Joe Cole.
Okay. Right, we'll move on from...
he's not even asking, he's just moving on.
A bit odd. It's just a bit odd. Next, obviously, we saw Alex Ferguson and Wenger get inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame quite rightfully as well. But what I want to know is the next manager to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. Elliot?
Who's going to be the next manager?
Yeah.
My guess is Mourinho.
Okay, Gary?
Pep.
Pep? Okay. See, if this has to have to be retired, though, don't they? Do they have to be retired? But then how can managers... It's weird, isn't it?
Mourinho's
It's
not
weird with the
retired.
That's what I mean. So, yeah, all right. I am challenging as well. I'm just thinking, but surely it's going to be different because
Who
obviously...
would yours be?
But I'd say Mourinho. I'd say Mourinho personally, because I think I mean all their managers will get into choice. I think they're the set three. Is then when you get into sort of who's after that. Guardiola, yes. There's a question mark over Klopp. And then who else you put in there? Do you put Ancelotti in there? You know, do you go a bit older managers? It's interesting. It's an interesting section, but them two definitely deserve it. Wenger and Ferguson for me. Next one, we'll start off with Gary this time. Will England win the Euros or the World Cup first?
Euros.
Fair enough. Elliot?
I'm going to say the World Cup.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Gary, over to you. Who's the next manager to be sacked?
Moyes.
Very good. By the way, I did write these questions before the Fulham West Ham game, so I was hoping that there would be a different answer. Elliot, what about you, mate?
Yeah, I'll have to agree. David Moyes.
Do you think he'll go this season? Gaz, question, follow-up question.
Yeah, I think he'll last till the end of the season. But I don't want it, personally.
No. What stadium you would like to go that you haven't gone already? Gary?
Is this world football?
Sure.
Camp Nou.
Camp Nou. Very nice. Elliot?
It's got to be the Aduna or San Siro.
I'm going to be really boring. I'm going to say Emirates. I'd like to go to the Emirates. I just think it's just such an impressive stadium. Yeah, I know. I've got really boring. I don't want to leave the country. Or that like 10,000 seater one in Brazil. That's a good one as well.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing to go. Okay, this is an interesting one then. Is the Liverpool team that under Klopp... Sorry, I'll repeat that question again. Should the Liverpool team under Klopp be considered as world class? So the teams he's had, would you say that Klopp has had world class Liverpool teams? Gary, over to you.
Yes.
Okay. Why? Would you like to say why, or are you just sticking with the cool? Brilliant. Thank you very much for lengthening this show even more. And Elliot?
Look, you've got to say yes, haven't you? Because that team has won the Champions League. They've lost in the final twice, was it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've won the Prem. So they've been up there in every competition.
Yeah,
Why not?
99 points. 99 points as well in that season where we lost it, which we really should not have lost. I don't know how we lost that.
Won the Carabao Cup, won the FA Cup.
Yeah, Club World Cup.
Yep.
So no, definitely. But no, interesting. It's an interesting debate because they did have Sky Sports as well, and a lot of them were saying no, that they don't deserve it. So an interesting one. But we got the footy fans' own opinion. That's all that matters. And last question, a bit of a fun one. If you had to buy a current Premier League team that isn't your own, who would it be? You got to think about location. You got to think about the players. I mean, it's. Would you like to go to Brighton on the beach? Newcastle, the cold, seeing shirtless men around? I mean, it's all things should be in consideration here. Elliot, do you want to start off with this one, mate? Final one?
I mean, I would buy Spurs just to completely destroy the club. I find it funny.
We should have restricted that and said, not your own or your rivals. But no, okay. we'll stick with that one.
Another club?
Elliot's found a loophole, mate. I like it. It was a fantastic answer. The Spurs fans are going to love you, mate. Gary, are you going to say the same for Chelsea or?
No, do you know what, Leicester?
Yes, we know you work for Leicester. Honestly, you're not mentioning it enough. But no, okay, Leicester then. Yeah. Any reason why? Just to stay at home.
Yeah, close to home.
Love that. Two very different answers. So fantastic. Well, like I said, guys, if you want to submit your questions, you want to ask the guys, some things, please go over either on the comment section or go over to social medias as well. We'll be setting them up in the next few weeks. So hopefully you guys can cooperate with it, and you guys can answer some very interesting questions. But we're hopefully going to do that, build up some opinions throughout the weeks regarding the Q&A. So let's get back in then to the rest of the segments, because we've got to discuss a few more things here on the live show. Gary, do we have?
Yep, just give me 1 second.
No worries at all.
There we go.
Okay, and then so we're going to stay away from the Premier League now and talk about Europe, because we have got all the Premier League teams in action over the next few days, starting off with the Champions League quarterfinals. Real Madrid taking on Chelsea. Elliot, obviously Real Madrid had a fantastic game in this competition against Liverpool last time out. Could you see them beating another Premier League team?
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's no chance Chelsea go through.
Wow.
Because you've seen what Real Madrid did to Liverpool. They'll do the same to Chelsea, if not worse.
I mean, that's a fair point. It's a very fair point. Obviously, Benzema's going to be on absolute fire in that game, guys. Do you think that's the main thing Chelsea need to worry about is Benzema, or do you think they need to worry about everybody else?
Need to worry about everybody else. I think Rakitic can pass the ball absolutely pitch perfect every time. Vinicius Jr., quick, skillful, and obviously, like you said, you got Benzema who can put a ball in the back of the net anytime he asks.
Absolutely. Elliot, you've sort of answered my next question about Chelsea. Is there any chance that they could potentially? I mean, they showed great fight in this competition. It's the only one that they've really got to fight for. Is there any chance, or are you sticking with that?
No. I think the quality of that Real Madrid team is just too good for Chelsea. As you know, they're all over the place. And when you're in that state, you really don't want to come up against some of the world's best, such as, like Gary said, Benzema, Vinicius Jr. Let's go tear them apart.
Most definitely. So could I have a score prediction for the first leg? Starting off with Gary.
3-0 Madrid.
Elliot?
4-0 Madrid.
4-0. Nice. Let's move on to the Europa League. Obviously, go in order. Manchester United host Sevilla in that game. Obviously, Manchester United won the Carabao Cup against Newcastle a couple of weeks ago, obviously going for more silverware. Sevilla, strong Spanish side. Gary, could we see Man United progress in this competition, potentially get a European title this year?
I'd say yes and no. I think Man United have got the squad to do it. I mean, Rashford's obviously out now with injury. But Sevilla, obviously, as Kieran will know, West Ham are the only club to beat Sevilla in European knockout stages in Europa League. So, I don't know. I really don't know.
Fair enough. Elliot, any points to make on Man United here?
I mean, I do think they'll comfortably win. Because Sevilla this year, they're very poor. They're near the bottom in Spain.
Yeah. It's a tough place, obviously, to go as well, Old Trafford.
Yeah,
I think
Man U they'll find it quite easy.
Fair enough. And score prediction, Elliot? What do you say, mate?
3-1.
Gary?
1-1.
1-1. Okay. Obviously, moving back to the Champions League, Manchester City host Bayern Munich. What a massive game that's going to be. Obviously, Bayern Munich beating Paris Saint-Germain in the last round. Could they potentially beat Manchester City here and spoil Pep's plans to finally win the Champions League, Gary?
No. I think if Haaland's on fire, that KDB's on fire, I think they'll just cruise past Bayern Munich.
Elliot, what are you saying, mate?
I think it could go either way because obviously they're both really strong teams. Bayern are very good in Champions League, like they are every year. Yeah, I think it'll be close.
All right, then, fantastic. Score prediction, Gary?
2-1 Man City.
Elliot?
1-0 City.
Okay, and then the Conference League, West Ham going away to Ghent. A big smile has just come on the face of Gary. I mean, obviously West Ham, they're probably the strongest team in there now. You could say, Gary, is it time for West Ham? I mean, if you get relegated, and there is a chance that you might be playing in the Europa League and in the Championship next season, which will be a first. Do you think that might happen? And do you think you could get the Conference League?
I think we can get the Conference League. I think really the only team that can challenge us now is Fiorentina, which we would meet in the final. That's obviously if we get there. But the only reason I was smiling so much is because I actually have a bet on West Ham to win.
Go on.
I put a £5 on, and I'll tell you how much I get back. It's not a big amount.
Okay.
I think it's like £10.50 back.
Well, okay. What odds are they?
I'll have a look now.
Okay. I thought
West Ham to win 10 to 11. Wait, no, 11 over 10.
11 over 10. Oh, right, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So drinks will be on Gary the next time I see him then. Is that to win this game or to win the Conference League as a whole?
To win this game.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, definitely drinks will be on you. But Elliot, what are you saying, mate? Are you agreeing in Gary? Will you be putting a bet on? Because just to give a quick story before we start, Elliot's always like debating about whether to put on bets. He doesn't do it, and then the bet will actually come true. Elliot could be a millionaire by the time. You know when he said he could buy Spurs? I think Elliot better get on some bets, and I think
I won't be far off.
You won't be far off with it.
Last time though,
I did, yeah. But are we agreeing with West Ham?
No. I reckon it will.
That was a very hesitant no. That was a very hesitant no.
No, I reckon it'll be a draw. I think Ghent will do well at home. I think West Ham will struggle to break them down. So I think it's going to go to the game at West Ham.
Fantastic. So you're saying the draw then, Elliot? What would you say is the score?
I'm saying 1-1 draw.
Gary?
2-1 West Ham.
So backing the boys and also hoping to improve your bank account.
Yep.
Right, that's the all four games in Europe this week. Obviously, we'll react to them next week and then preview the second legs next week. So time now to conclude it with a bit of talk about VAR view. 5 incidences there. Obviously, we're basically going to say whether they're the correct decision or they're not the correct decision. Gary, we'll start off with you, mate. Pick any 5. Pick any one of them.
I'll go for the elbow on Robertson.
Okay, all right. Discuss. You think it was the right decision, the wrong decision? What's your take on it?
I think it's the wrong decision. I think Robertson doesn't grab a hold of him, but he looks like he's going to, and that's the referee's kind of motion of getting out. But at the same time, was it needed to go up? Not necessarily. My point on it, I think the assistant referee's in the wrong.
All right then, fair enough. Elliot, any opinion on that one, mate?
No, I think Gary's summed up quite well.
Brilliant. So Elliot, we've gone there, mate. So except for that one, pick any of the other four. Which ones do you want to talk about, mate?
I'm going to go for the Matoma penalty.
Ah, yes. Obviously, they've got an apology. Brighton have had an apology for the incident. Do you think it was the wrong decision on the day? Do you think they're right to apologise?
I think for me, it was a clear foul, clear stomp on Matoma's foot. But yeah, I think they should have got a penalty, and that would have changed the game completely. But I think with them apologising, it doesn't really mean a lot now because they can't change it. It's like, I don't know if you remember last time Arsenal played Brentford.
Yes.
The 2-2 draw because what's his name? Norgard. He scored that goal but it was offside. Same thing. Like, they can apologise for it, but in the end, it could have made a massive difference to both Spurs and Brighton's season. But for me, that was a penalty.
Well said, Gary. Three incidences in the middle. Obviously, 2 from the Brighton Spurs game that was full of controversy. Which one do you want to speak about, mate?
I'll go for the second one.
Oh, the Lewis Dunk pulling at the shirt.
Yep.
Again, would you say that's another penalty?
Yeah, I'd say it's a penalty. It's clear and obvious. He's pulling his shirt and pulling him down. I don't think there's any other discussion. So yeah, it's the wrong decision.
Lewis Dunk's interview was actually funny after the game when he swore on when he was being interviewed on Match of the Day the other day. That was quite funny, I thought. But no, clear and obviously annoyed with 2 big incidences. Elliot, either the Xhaka or Trent coming together or the Matoma handball. I mean, Brighton could have easily won this game about 4-1 looking at these instances. Which one do you want to speak about, mate?
Go on, we'll go with the Xhaka and Trent one.
Go on then, mate.
Where do I start?
Start wherever you want, mate. I'm also going to say that Trent, we're all also being big football fans. We're also big wrestling fans. It looked like he was going to give him a Superman punch in that game. When he sort of came on the back of him. Was it right to have both yellow cards?
Yeah. I reckon the Trent shove, that was definitely yellow. And Xhaka was for retaliation, wasn't it? Xhaka, a few years ago, would have probably punched him and walked off till it red.
Yes, he would have, yeah. He would have. It was the Granit Xhaka of old, I think.
Yeah. But hopefully that's not a regular occurrence anymore. Because he's been a huge player for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're right to give them both a yellow. And had a massive impact on the game, didn't it?
It did, yeah, definitely riled up the crowd. I don't think that was really the cause of Liverpool coming back. And Arsenal fans.
It certainly helped.
Like we said earlier, it did help. It definitely did help.
But yeah,
Gary, final. Go on.
For me, they're both yellow cards.
Yeah, definitely. I thought the referee ref the Liverpool Arsenal game. Obviously, a lot at stake. I thought they did really well. I didn't think there was a lot of big wrong decisions in that one, and I think he was right with that one as well to sort of calm both of them down. Gary, final incident, mate.
I mean, the picture doesn't do it justice because obviously it's not from a great angle, but it does look like it hits.
Apologies about that.
Well, the way it's looking, it does look like it hits his arm, so I wouldn't say that's wrong. Also,
there was the other one as well, which I did put in the McAllister one, where it just sort of it said it hit his arm, but it hit his hip. Like I said, that was another one. So yeah, Brighton definitely stealing the show against Spurs, and a lot of incidences go against them. But so that is it, of course, for VAR viewing. That is it for the first episode of the Footy Fan Zone. Thank you very much for everybody that has listened. Thank you very much to everybody that has supported the channel already. like I keep saying throughout the duration of the show, if there's one personal section that you wish to go back and rewatch or go and watch for the first time, the clips will be uploaded throughout the week. Splitting this show into different sections. So if you want to rewatch a certain section, if you only care about a certain one, whether it's the title race, our tier list, whichever, please go over to the video section. Or if you want to watch the whole stream again, we're very, very thankful for that. You can also do that as well. Massive thanks to my co-hosts, co-presenters, and creators of this, Gary and Elliot. Thank you very much both for joining. And we will see you next Tuesday for the next episode of the Footy Fan Zone. Thank you very much, guys. Take care. See you later.